What I miss about Apple Intelligence. Yeah, that sounds like a title of a school essay, doesn't it? What I did on my summer holidays with Apple Intelligence. Yeah, holidays, fond childhood memory. Anyway. You know how you don't know what you've got till it's gone, and it is absolutely impossible to say those words, isn't it, without Joni Mitchell's voice singing in your head. Concentrate, William. Apple Intelligence. Okay, Apple Intelligence. It's now out, kind of. Depending on where you are and what language you happen to prefer, you've got Apple Intelligence or you haven't. And wherever you are, however you speak, whatever you write, you haven't got it all. And we're surely going to be getting more and more of this thing over the next many years, but we are certainly going to be getting more in the next few months. Most significantly, I think, is that Siri is yet to be updated, and that is going to be the thing that makes or breaks Apple Intelligence for me. And I suspect, actually, Apple thinks it too, because Apple's already running adverts for Apple Intelligence that show Siri doing great things that it won't yet. Given that so much of this is yet to come, we do still have quite a lot. And as it happens, I've been using various test versions of it for some months, but I haven't been testing it on every device, every Mac, every iPhone. I mean, actually, even now, when it's publicly out, I haven't updated everything to the latest version. So, depending on which device I turn to and when, I've got Apple Intelligence. Or I've got some of it, or I've got none. I swap between these devices, and after doing that for a few months now, I think I can show you that of all the things Apple Intelligence is supposed to do, there are actually some key things I miss when I'm on a device that hasn't got Apple Intelligence. And to be fair, there's some things I don't, but yeah. Hello, I'm William Gallagher, and this is 58 Keys, which, as ever, as always, is for writers like you and me who use and who write on Macs and iPhones and iPads. Or actually also on the Monday video workshops, actually every writer beer. I do subscribe for all of these and support 58 Keys on Patreon because there's so much to talk about. Not least, now that there are these two videos every week. But actually, if you're on Patreon, you also get a podcast, a Thursday 2-minute tip article, a monthly Zoom natter, and on one tier we have a weekly live writing sprint, which I find so useful. Let's do the one biggest thing. The one biggest thing I miss about Apple Intelligence when it's gone, when I'm on the wrong devices, it now seems, is how it summarizes things. Actually, everything. The most useful example, I think, is in Apple Mail, where instead of, in any email system, you have an inbox and it shows you the list of many emails in, and you get the first 3 lines of the email or the latest email in the thread. This will now show you a summary of that email or that thread. It can be wrong. I had this thing where the summary told me that someone was leaving a project of mine, but that she would return. No. She'd emailed to say she was out. I mean, it's fine, yeah, but she was out, and someone else in the project had replied to her saying, well, it's understandable, because it is, but hopefully you'll come back sometime, won't you? The giant majority of the time, or at least so far for me, summaries have been great in the inbox. It's just a quick glance, do I need to deal with it or not? There is also actually a summary inside every individual email, and that bit I don't care about. The idea there is that you open the email, oh, this is a bit long, you tap or you click on the summarize button and you wait. I've tried it, and sometimes it's quite quick. Sometimes you can get a cup of tea while it's doing it, but and actually sometimes it then complains that Apple Intelligence wasn't designed for this kind of email. When it says that, though, you can actually push a button marked, I think it says whatever, do it now, get on with it, and it does all of that, it just does it. And the thing is, for me, is if I've gone into an email, right, I'm just going to read it right there. I have only ever pushed or tapped that summarize button to see what it does and how slowly. I've not once done it because I needed or because I even wanted it. So that bit of summary, not so much. I did expect actually to like those email inbox summaries once Apple had shown them off. I hadn't expected, hadn't even actually thought about to be fair, how much I would like summaries of notifications. On my iPhone's lock screen, I will now, most of the time, get one notification of new podcast episodes, like several. Yeah, instead of a separate one for each, that'll be grouped together. Or actually, at any point when the iPhone is unlocked, I can swipe down for notifications, and some of them will be summaries of multiple ones, like this OmniFocus one. It is a bit inconsistent, not OmniFocus, the whole notification system, or at least I can't spot the pattern yet. Because sometimes, for example, those podcasts, they will get a separate notification. Then there is the thing that summaries as well can be wrong here too. The now becoming famous example is BBC News. BBC News has complained to Apple that notification summaries have been, insanely wrong. Saying that someone had won a sports tournament that actually hadn't happened yet, or really horrible. This person has been shot dead when, I don't know, they were photographed, maybe that's the shot, dead in center of the frame, I don't know, just wrong. But most of the time, these notification summaries are useful, and I like it when I've got it, which I really wasn't expecting. Similarly, actually, I didn't even know that there would be yet another place where summaries turn up. It's specific this, but if you're driving using CarPlay and there are more than a couple of messages from the same group chat, Siri will now read you a summary of all of them before saying, so you want to listen to them all? Really? Are you serious? That was a big surprise to me, and actually it's great. There's one particular client I work with, you get a lot of messages, and I was driving, I wasn't supposed to be doing anything yet for the particular project, particular client, and this would tell me, filled me in on what was going on, but told me also, yeah, I wasn't actually needed yet. Although, score 1 for Siri there, and for CarPlay and Apple Intelligence. You got to take away a lot of points though for a recurring bug. Quite often during the beta test, haven't seen it since the public release, but it was a lot in the beta. Siri would read out, well, I don't know what it is really. It's like, instead of a text message from Bert saying laters, Siri would say, in the group, Bert says M339 ## 88, just on and on for such a remarkably long time. It's like it was reading some kind of hexadecimal version of the ASCII code for each letter. Or maybe Bert's just swearing at me. Please now, picture me walking around a garden centre with visual intelligence on my iPhone, where normally I might, if pressed, say, that's a nice green plant or flower or wheelbarrow. With visual intelligence, I have been able to sneakily look up the details of a plant and then say it, like I know. Yeah, of course, at the point that I found out this, I was in the beta test, and it was a point in the beta test when you had to have your iPhone set US English for Apple Intelligence to work at all. I had not one thin clue that America has different names for plants to the UK, where I am. Kind of spoiled the effect. But still, visual intelligence, it's the knees on the bees. It is so good. Right now, okay, I think I'm mostly using it as a new toy, but if I don't know the name for something, I do try asking visual intelligence almost automatically, really. But actually, I've got to tell you this, let me tell you this. Because I was doing these test versions, I didn't always realize what features were there and what weren't, and I did not realize I had visual intelligence on my iPhone until the day I was outside my house taking a photo of a reading the electricity meter. My provider needed it, and my mind was all over it. I pressed too long on the camera control button on my iPhone, and instead of a photo of the meter, I got some text telling me what an electricity meter is. Quite a surprise, but from that point on, I used it a lot. Until I also used it on my desk here, and it described it as a mess. It actually used the word mess. So I've stopped using visual intelligence entirely. I want to count 2 more things in Apple Intelligence that I rather enjoy. I enjoy, but I don't truly miss them because I don't use them for anything other than a toy, I suppose. And the big one of that is Image Playground. One day I will get it to do an image of me that A, I recognize, and 2, is even remotely flattering. But if you do find yourself playing with Image Playground, asking for images of all sorts of things, 3 sparrows and a slice of bread, just to see what it does. It is very impressive. It's also so far been entirely without purpose or meaning for me. Not true, I've just shown you those images. That's the kind of purpose I have actually used. I mean, this is a stretch, isn't it? Writing tools. Now, because you're a writer, you'll get this. Other people might assume writing tools, writers, you should be zooming straight to this, but yet no. But there is one thing I do enjoy in it, just for the fun of it. When writing tools were first announced, Apple said you could select some text and have Apple Intelligence rewrite it to be more friendly, more professional, or more concise. Those were the 3 options. It was a button each. But now that it's finally out, there's an extra bit. There's a text box into which you can type anything you like. Describe what you want. And I immediately selected some text and said, I want this to be made threatening. I want to say it did it. And I want to say that it was entertaining. I suppose it was. But this sounds incredibly obvious. If I asked you to write a threatening email for some reason, you would unthinkingly, automatically, you would know unquestionably that what I meant was the email was supposed to threaten the recipient. Somehow, Apple Intelligence, every time I've tried this, rewrites emails to make them threatening to me as the sender. I am threatened by your not doing... Oh, God. Apple Intelligence is picking on me, really. Well, actually, I said that, but maybe it is. Maybe it is picking on me. Because there is a feature of Apple Intelligence that I greatly miss, despite never having had it. To this day, through countless beta test releases of different versions of iOS on the iPhone, iPadOS on the iPad, and macOS on the Mac, I have yet to see a sign of Safari highlights. This is where Apple says Safari will pull out the key facts from a website for you, like the address of a hotel that you need to go. That would be nice. I've also never seen that, but also never seen Safari Reader View create a table of contents for a long web page. I do, though, like the new design of Reader View in Safari. It's still a few clicks to get in and out, but overall, I think it can make, well, I know that it can make a busy website into a more readable one. I find it a more relaxing read. When a site actually, though, is also just really unreasonable with pop-ups and things, there is this new hide distracting items feature, and you will use it at least once just to see the fun of something wiped out like that. I don't actually think I've used it for anything serious yet. If the site is that irritating, I just go into Reader View when necessary or find a better site. One odd thing, though, which makes me feel a little bit better about this confusion I've got over what features are in what. I mean, I didn't dare tell you which Apple Intelligence feature is in which release or which beta for which country, because I'm getting it wrong all the time. I think the thing is, it's very obvious that all of this is being worked on by lots of different teams in Apple at different times, because we get things like this. Watch the address bar for translation, which is a tremendous feature of Safari. You open a foreign language website, and if it's one of the ones that Safari can translate, you can read it all in English. It's superb. Only you have to wait while it tells you translation is available. Then you wait until the translate icon appears over on the left, and then, because the left is now where the new reader view kind of icon is, the new page layout icon is, the translate icon has to jump over to the right, and only then can you actually use it. I've got to imagine that at some point translation will slip into the new page reader view thing, the page summary icon, but it isn't there yet. This is also, I mean, this is unquestionably a bug. Iris, set a timer for 5 minutes. Please explain why it so often decides to instead set the timer for some ridiculous number of hours and minutes, please. The fix, by the way, I have found this, is to say, Iris, set a timer and wait for it to say, for how long? Similarly, by the way, if Siri in CarPlay and Apple Maps is driving you a little bit spare, instead of driving you where you want to go, I have also learnt that you can actually spell out the name of your destination. This turns out to be the only way that I can get Siri to take me to Walsall here in the UK instead of Warsaw in Poland. One last thing, last, because it's not a bug, and I don't believe it's going to change, but I don't miss it, even though I've tried. With Apple Intelligence on your iPhone, specifically actually the iPhone and not the Mac, and so far seemingly not even on the iPad, Apple Mail now has this categorization thing. It shoves your emails into different categories. I mean, there's primary, transactions, updates, and promotions. That's what it sets out to do. That's what it does. Really, I couldn't fault it if I wanted to, but somehow, whatever. On the iPhone, I now have to tap 4 buttons, or one that says, oh, give up, choke to me all, in order to see everything. I do realise, actually, I now often only look at the primary one when I'm in a hurry, so I suppose that works, that is useful. But if I see an email in primary that I want to reply to at length, or which requires some research or some effort in some way before I can respond, I might well turn from my phone to my Mac to do it. And the Mac has no such email categorization yet. So that primary email I wanted, it's somewhere in the flood. I've got to search for it. You can switch all of this off on your iPhone, but I am trying to leave it on, see if I get more used to it. After a couple of weeks, though, more than a month now, yeah, I use it, but I'd be fine if they took that away. Whereas, like I say, I do miss the summaries everywhere. I would miss visual intelligence now I'm slightly hooked on it. And I remain looking forward to Safari highlights someday, and especially Siri. None of this so far is enormous, I don't think, and none of it is trying to take over the world like artificial intelligence appears to always want to do. Instead, Apple Intelligence gives us some tools to help us with what we are creating. And it also gives us Image Playground for some reason. So Apple Intelligence, duller than maybe it sounded like it was going to be, but also more useful, more actually useful than I thought it was going to sound to be, and it's going to get better. That's it for this edition of 58 Keys. Whilst we wait for more Apple Intelligence features, and again, most especially improvements in Siri, please hurry that up. Thank you for watching. Don't forget the Monday writing workshop videos on this same channel. Isn't it not worth subscribing to this? But in the meantime, take care of yourself. Write more, and I'll see you soon.